Welcome to today's explainer. Sometimes we just need to take a little breather from all the heavy data and complex charts, right? So today, we're actually going to explore something deeply cultural and just incredibly heartwarming. We're diving into a piece of source material that paints this super vivid, nostalgic picture of an Indian summer vacation back in the 1990s. It's a journey to a grandmother's house, or as the source beautifully titles it, Nani ke Ghar ka Safar. Honestly, reading through this material feels exactly like watching one of those warm, classic animated movies. It's absolutely packed with sensory details, strong family bonds, and just a much simpler way of living. So get comfortable and let's explore this magical, nostalgic 90s journey together. So, think back for a second. Do you remember your childhood summers? Like that pure, unfiltered joy of suddenly realizing school is out and you've got endless days of total freedom ahead of you? Well, our source material kicks things off by immediately contrasting that past reality with where we are today. It straight up asks, where is this raw, tactile joy in today's modern world of video games and screens? Keep that question in the back of your mind as we go through this explainer. We're going to break down the actual anatomy of a perfect childhood summer to see exactly what made those simpler times so incredibly special. All right, let's jump right into Section 1, Nani's letter and the exciting preparations. Okay, picture this. The school holidays are literally just around the corner, and the anticipation is going through the roof. Now, remember, this was the 90s. It wasn't a quick text message or an email that kicks things off. Nope, it was an actual, physical postcard. The postman delivered it straight to the father's hands in this cozy little living room, complete with an old wall calendar and a vintage radio in the background. And that single piece of paper sparked the magic words, "We will go to Nani's house." Imagine the absolute thrill for our two young protagonists here, a boy named Bunty and his little sister Munni. The text says they were literally jumping with joy the second they heard the news. We've all felt that, right? That sudden lightning bolt of excitement when a trip is finally officially confirmed. It's that sheer high-energy moment that sets the tone for the whole adventure. And then, of course, came the packing. Oh man, packing back then wasn't about just throwing some clothes into a lightweight, modern suitcase with wheels. No way. They had to use a large, incredibly heavy, vintage metal trunk. The mother is rushing around getting all the clothes together, but the source highlights this perfectly relatable detail. Little Bunty is secretly hiding his favorite toy at the bottom of the luggage. Actually, it's these tiny, grounded details from the text that make the whole narrative feel so real. Half the fun was literally just getting ready to go. Moving right along to Section 2, the pleasant bus journey. So, early the next morning, the family arrives at a bustling, dusty rural government bus stand. The father spots their ride, and it's this massive, vintage blue and red bus that pulls in with a really loud horn. According to the source, just seeing that bus made the kids' heartbeats race. The waiting is finally over, the adventure has officially started. And the journey itself is mapped out like a perfect timeline. They start in the morning at the bus stand, take a break in the afternoon for lunch at a roadside eatery, and finally reach the village by evening. You see, this wasn't some quick 2-hour flight. It was an all-day, multi-sensory experience where the actual travel was just as important as the destination itself. Now, little Munni, she scored the absolute ultimate prize, the window seat. For her, the journey was just this massive visual feast. The text beautifully describes the cool breeze hitting her face, her hair blowing wildly in the wind. Out the window, she's watching these lush green fields just zooming by, cows peacefully grazing, and a flowing river dotted with tiny boats. The source text explicitly says it felt like she was wandering through a magical world. But let's be real, you simply cannot have a 90s road trip without the food stops. We have to talk about those dhaba delights. A dhaba is a traditional roadside restaurant, and the source paints a seriously mouth-watering picture here. The family is sitting outside on wooden benches, digging into hot samosas, and these incredibly crispy jalebis, which are those spiral sweets just completely soaked in syrup, all served up on simple paper plates. Add in some steaming cups of tea, and you're set. The text makes a really poignant note here, saying that the aroma of this food filled not just their stomachs, but their hearts. Which brings us nicely to Section 3, sweet mangoes and the village warmth. Finally, the bus drops them off and they walk up to this beautiful old mud and brick village house. And standing right there at the doorstep with her arms wide open is Nani. She's wearing a simple cotton sari, flashing this warm, loving smile. The kids just run and hug her tightly. It's this deeply emotional, heartwarming reunion. And when they arrive, she doesn't just say hello. Actually, scratch that. It wasn't just a simple greeting. Her very first act is deeply traditional. She offers them cold water and sweet jaggery. The text notes that this one simple, caring gesture of hospitality instantly erased every bit of their travel fatigue. It really shows how physical care and emotional warmth were just so deeply intertwined back then. But the real treat, the thing every single kid was secretly waiting for, that was out in the lush orchard. Nani takes them outside, they sit on a mat under these huge trees just loaded with ripe fruit, and they absolutely dive into the world's most delicious, juicy yellow mangoes. The text really emphasizes their messy faces and hands. It's all about the pure, uninhibited joy of eating fresh fruit straight off the branch on a bright summer day. The source even goes as far as to claim that mangoes this delicious can hardly be found anywhere else in the entire world. After all that excitement, the pace of the day just beautifully slows down. As evening rolls in, Nani takes the kids for a quiet walk through her vast fields. The text describes this as a golden hour walk. With the light of the setting sun, the swaying green wheat fields literally shine like a massive blanket of gold. It's this incredibly serene, peaceful moment of connection between the generations, and it's so deeply grounded in the natural beauty of the village. Let's transition over to Section 4, Night on the Roof and Heavy Monsoon Rain. The village night is described as being just unbelievably peaceful. The whole family is sleeping outdoors right on the open rooftop. They're using those traditional woven wooden cots called charpais and sleeping under a sky that is just packed with thousands of bright stars. But then, the atmosphere totally shifts. Dark clouds roll in, these strong, cool winds start whipping the blankets around, and then, boom, the heavy monsoon rain comes pouring down. The text actually lays out the exact steps for a perfect 90s rainy day. Step 1, the second you wake up, run straight to the courtyard. Step 2, take a joyful bath right under the rushing rainwater pipe. And Step 3, craft little paper boats and sail them in the puddles on the ground. It was just a whole morning of tactile, splashing fun. And this perfectly illustrates the so what of this whole explainer. Why does this matter today? Well, the source explicitly contrasts this 90s childhood, splashing in the puddles, making paper boats, physically feeling the rain, with modern childhood. The author points out that kids today spend so much of their time just staring at screens and playing video games. The source is essentially asking us to recognize the deep, formative value of that physical outdoor play because it feels like it's slipping away from us. This leads us to our final part, Section 5, Farewell and Everlasting Memories. So the rain eventually stops, leaving behind this absolutely breathtaking scene. A vibrant, 7-colored rainbow stretches across the sky over the freshly washed, squeaky clean village. The air is crisp, and the source notes it felt almost like nature itself was handing them a beautiful parting gift. Because, as with all good things, the trip had to end. The holidays flew by in the blink of an eye. Now the family's back on the bus, looking out the window, and down on the dirt road stands Nani, waving goodbye with tears in her eyes, smiling through the sadness, yelling, "Come back next holidays." It is the emotional punchline of the entire narrative, that bittersweet ache of leaving a place and a person that you love so much. And of course, the kids are totally misty-eyed, but they yell back, "Yes, Nani, we will come soon." The text mentions that while the kids were crying a bit, their hearts were just completely full of Nani's immense love and all these unforgettable memories they just made. They made this happy, tearful promise to return, sealing a bond that distance simply couldn't break. Which brings us to the biggest question of all. Will we pass these magical, simple summer memories down to the next generation? The source material we unpacked today wasn't just a cute story. It was a literal blueprint for childhood wonder. It reminds us of the power of a handwritten letter, the thrill of a long bus ride, the taste of fresh fruit, and the simple joy of floating a paper boat in a muddy puddle. So what should you take away from this? Maybe it's just a gentle reminder for all of us to unplug, look around, and go create some tangible, messy, beautiful memories today. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you on the next one.